hard to say exactly what goes into making a Marine, or a man for that matter. But whatever it is, there are two basic elements you always have to have.
When I call out your last name, you're going to answer up, sir, here, and sound off your first name. Alan.
One is good material,
Brooker.
and the other is the right environment.
Buck. Yes, sir, Gary.
If the Marine Corps has come to be known for the caliber of men it turns out, it's largely because of the value the Corps places on both of these requirements. It may not look like it, but the Corps is very careful in selecting its recruits. And when it comes to training them, well, you can judge for yourself. For all Marine recruits, processing begins right here.
You're now at Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego, California. You're about to start your first day of processing. There are 5 days involved in processing. These 5 days do not count as part of your training. From now on, the first word out of your mouth is going to be sir, unless you are asked a simple question that can be answered with a yes or a no, and then you will answer yes, sir, or no, sir. While you are here, we'll expect you to act as a man. You will be treated as a man. From now on, you will do things to the best of your ability, and you will move as fast as possible.
Almost as much a trademark of the Marines as the way they carry themselves and walk is their distinctive hairstyle. It takes some time for recruits to develop the other characteristics, but they can get the haircut in just a few minutes, which is just one of the many practical advantages of this kind of haircut. The haircutting begins the processing, and in a way, it's rather fitting because it graphically marks the kind of radical transformation the recruits can expect in other areas. As the processing continues, the recruits get the initial issue of clothing they'll wear during training.
10.5.
The first scrub down in the Corps is the first of countless showers and wash-ups of all kinds they'll undergo in the Marines. The Corps has always been zealous about cleanliness
Turn around, put your heels against the bed.
and upholding the military tradition of neatness and bearing, no matter what you're wearing.
Undo your trousers. Turn around. Go down and exchange your trousers for 34, 36.
The Corps is also very demanding about physical condition, and so examinations are an important part of the initial processing. All of these men were carefully examined before they were accepted as Marine recruits, but the Corps just wants to be sure there's nothing wrong with them now. Those that need glasses will get them.
Number 7 is missing. Number 14, snake eyes.
If any bad teeth are found, they'll be taken care of while the recruit undergoes training.
31 and OF.
Was that 30 occlusal?
Yes, number 30 occlusal.
Okay, Father. I'll be here in the classroom all the rest of the morning to give you assistance on any question that you may have.
Yes, sir.
The Corps also wants to know just what its recruits are capable of, and so they're given a series of tests. Those with some special skills will get more tests.
15, 18, 16, 17.
The PT, or physical training tests, are designed to be equally revealing about the physical condition of the recruits.
5, 6,
Those that require it will get extra training and attention to ensure they meet the requirements set for all recruits. The last day of processing, the recruits receive their rifles and other tools of their trade, which they'll learn to use during training.
59, 27.
On down. Oh!
One, two, sir.
Put down your gear.
Aye, sir.
Processing ends with the arrival of the drill instructors, or DIs, who will lead them through training. For the recruits, this is probably the most important event of the processing. It brings them together with the men who are going to be personally responsible for their training.
Sir, lay down your gear. Aye, sir.
Eight to the left.
Sir, next to the left. Aye, sir.
During the training, the recruits in each platoon will spend some 16 hours each day under the sharp, watchful eyes of their drill instructor.
Commander Staff Sergeant Holmberg.
Over the years, these drill instructors have become almost as much of a legend in the Corps as its heroes. And rightly so, because they've had a hand in shaping most of them. But like all legends, they've been transformed and exaggerated into something that they aren't. And as a result, they're frequently judged on the basis of what people have heard they are, rather than what the recruits actually know they are.
Whenever you're told to do something, do it good, as quickly as possible, to the best of your ability. All three of us, platoon commander and the two drill instructors, will be in charge of it at all times. We will know where
In any case, it's hard to exaggerate the importance of the DIs, and the Corps is very much aware of the role they play in making Marines. For this reason, it carefully selects
You're a great
them.
officer in your chain of command.
Yes, sir, it was.
Let's see, have you passed the PFT in the last 6 months?
Yes, sir.
Do you feel that you have anything medically wrong with you that would disqualify you for this type of duty?
No, sir.
Staff Sergeant Green, you realize that this is a very challenging job and a very demanding job. It'll probably mean that you'll have to spend approximately 8 hours a week at work and probably have to be away from home every third night standing the duty. Do you want to be a drill instructor?
Yes, sir, I would like to be a DI.
Then just as carefully trains them at its drill instructor school.
Period of instruction, we're going to be covering the Daily 7 exercise. You, as drill instructors, must know the Daily 7 exercise in order to teach your recruits. The Daily 7 exercise is nothing more than a warm-up exercise.
Welcome aboard, Sergeant. Thank you, sir. Please take a seat. Just out of drill instruction.
When they do become drill instructors, they work under the supervision of a series commander who is responsible for all the platoons in a particular series. Thus, whatever he may be, every DI is carefully selected, carefully trained, experienced, and under constant supervision.
Well, you're in luck, Sergeant Cruz. We're just picking the series up out of receiving, and to be able to get with them all the way through, I think it'll be a very rewarding experience. It's much better starting with them. So I'll be seeing you on the drill field.
Give me your buttons on button, huh? What didn't know, sir? Answer him, can't hear you. What didn't know, sir? How about getting your weapons squared away? Yes, sir.
And if he seems brusque and impatient, it's because he has a tough job and not much time to do it.
Thumb and forefinger together.
Recruit training actually begins with the DI taking over and telling their platoons exactly what will be expected of them. The first place they run up against these demands is on the drill field. They get more of the same in physical training, where they begin with the basic exercises. And it continues in their classes.
This part here, located in gray in color, is known as the trigger housing. The trigger housing. I'm going to move down here and pick up this part right here, which is under spring. Some 10,000 troops under the command of Brigadier General Ross. The raid's over here on the other side with only 500 men. Careful not to touch the inside portion. And we're going to place the dressing directly on the wound. We're going to spread our fingers out.
There There are also practical applications, such as guard duty.
Sir, Bragg Gallardo reports post number 4, all secure. Post and orders remain the same, nothing unusual to report, sir.
Report your post. Sir, Frank Gonzalo, post number 5.
Training in close combat. Also, hand-to-hand combat. And more drilling. Everybody's constantly tired and aching these first days of training. Still, the exercises get progressively harder. But they keep at it, and for most of them, it pays off. For some, however, it's too much. As soon as the DIs spot individuals who are having trouble, they usually work out a program of their own to give them special help. However, when a private's inability to progress hinders progress of the platoon and other recruits, he is assigned to the special training branch.
Now, that's just a small part of the contract that each and every one of you people signed when you come in the Marine Corps. Now, that's part of the reason why you're here in motivation.
Here, the recruits work and live with others who have the same problems, and special programs are set up to help them meet the training requirements. Some may require additional motivation.
But you will get paid once.
Others need help in physical conditioning.
2, sir. 1, sir. 2, sir. 1, sir. 2, sir. 1, sir. 2, sir. Hands over. Aye, sir.
Some have medical problems which keep them from participating in the activities of a normal training platoon. For those who find it difficult to obey the rules, there's correctional custody. By the time the final days of the first phase of training roll around, everyone is beginning to feel that they're a part of a team. By now, the soreness and stiffness have begun to disappear. So have confusion and uncertainty.
Private Pepper reporting back from sick man's orders, sir.
I get your gear off and go with the rest of the series.
All right, sir.
Most recruits manage to find the strength and energy for sports and for competition with the other recruits in training. Drown-proofing is a vital part of recruit training, with every man required to swim at least 75 meters, fully clothed, and carrying a rifle. By the time they've completed the first phase of training, the recruits are considered ready to be introduced to another old tradition of military life: mess and maintenance duty. The recruits have a week of mess and maintenance during their training.
Bone structure. You have to rely on
They spend the next 2 weeks at the rifle range.
No.
First, learning how to use their
The
rifles.
weapon into your shoulder, rotating up, keeping the right elbow up high, straight up. Bring the elbow well underneath the piece, aiming in, getting a good natural point of aim, squeezing the trigger straight to the rear.
Then, practicing to develop skill. This is one of many opportunities the recruits will have to qualify with their rifle. All Marines are required to fire for score once a year. Also included in second phase is an introduction to combat training. Here, the recruits are trained in basic skills they'll need in the field.
Go up to 360 degrees.
They learn how to use a compass.
It's composed of that makes up the earth. Now then, what we're going to learn today is how to shoot an azimuth.
Before we can do this, we must
Practice using maps.
Such as the point, if you look to your rear, where the little radar is set up on the hill.
Here, they have a chance to actually work with mines and demolition charges.
Pick it up and keep your finger on the door at all times.
The recruits also learn to use grenades properly.
Prepare to throw. Throw grenade.
On the way!
Infiltration training. Combat training introduces the recruits to the kind of food and living conditions they'll encounter in the field. Practically all training is in the form of exercise, with the recruits actually doing what they're learning. Many of the training activities take place at night. Tracer displays show the various kinds of coverage produced by different fire patterns. The men return to the recruit depot for the third and final phase of their training. This is a spit and polish period, and everyone is very much aware that there are only a few weeks of training left. With the recruits expectantly looking forward to the end of their arduous and demanding schedule. and the drill instructor struggling to smooth out the rough edges in time for graduation. In the meantime, everyone continues to drill. The physical training is harder than ever. Still, everybody does it. Their schedule is tougher than ever, but now they can handle it without straining.
You don't see anything to it. You don't do anything about it.
For those who display a potential as leaders, there is a special program to develop it and make them aware of the challenges and rewards, as well as the responsibilities of leadership. Almost before anybody can believe it, graduation day arrives. As far as the recruits are concerned, there are really no special preparations. Their barracks are always spotless. The ranks and uniforms display the same daily meticulous care. What family and friends of the recruits see here today is no special show, but actually the same conditions they could see any day. The big difference, of course, is in the recruits themselves. For parents and relatives, it's well worth the long trip many of them have made to be here. It's a proud and happy day for families and friends. The recruits' pride and feeling of accomplishment seems to be contagious. Even the seasoned old mentors who have gone through this many times before feel it. And some of those tough, stone-faced characters will even sheepishly admit that they feel a great sense of loss every time graduation day comes around. It's an especially proud day for the recruits who receive awards. And there are many, ranging from the most outstanding recruit to those who have excelled in the different areas of training. But whether or not they received a special award, all the recruits have a feeling of achievement. They've earned the right to be called Marines. It takes good men to get through the Marine recruit training program, and everybody knows it. Two facts you can't get away from. It's that the Corps obviously started with some pretty good men. And it's equally obvious that it did a pretty good job of training them. The whole thing is nicely summed up in the words of one mother who wrote, "We sent you a boy, and you sent back a man." She could also have said, "You sent back a Marine."
Okay, move out.
The war in Vietnam has many faces. It isn't just a simple matter of locating and destroying an enemy who hides in the jungles of this Asian nation. There are human needs to be met if the people of this land are to fulfill their destiny as a free society, and the ultimate real victory is to be won. Helping the people of South Vietnam to achieve their goals of enlightenment and a democratic life is one of the major objectives of our Army.
I want you to explain to them that we have two kinds of thermometers here. We have the oral thermometer, and we have a rectal thermometer. Explain to them, please, that we have oral thermometer and rectal thermometer.
Our nation-building programs are causing more and more Vietnamese to turn their backs on the communist-controlled Viet Cong. The enemy devotes increasing effort to prevent our programs from succeeding. These are the men of the U.S. Army's 25th Infantry Division. Their task in Vietnam is twofold: to defeat the enemy on the battlefield and to carry out effective civil assistance for the people of this war-torn nation. From day to day, the men of the 25th, the Tropic Lightning Division, must live up to their honored motto and be ready to strike. The 25th Infantry Tropic Lightning Division was activated at Schofield Barracks, Hawaii on October 1st, 1941. Composed of organizations which had been in Hawaii since 1921, the 25th is known as Hawaii's Own. Training exercises for the division in the Hawaiian Islands area during the early 60s were concentrated on jungle fighting and were reminiscent of the Tropic Lightning's bitter battles on Guadalcanal in 1942 and the historic Philippines campaign of World War II. By 1965, the division was slated for service in Vietnam. Training was intensified for these veterans of the Korean conflict. In December, deployment of the 25th Infantry Division to Southeast Asia began. First to leave Hawaii were the men of the 2nd Brigade, responding to the request of the U.S. Military Assistance Command in Vietnam. This unit of the 25th departed from Hawaii by sea. Once again, the Army's ready force in the Pacific was being called into action. The 6,000-mile voyage ended on January 15th at the port of Vung Tau in South Vietnam. As the men of the 2nd Brigade came ashore, they were greeted by General Westmoreland, the U.S. military commander in Vietnam. It was the beginning of a new year and a new chapter in the annals of the Tropic Lightning Division's colorful history. During the next few days, the 2nd Brigade moved upcountry to the Cu Chi district, some 20 miles northwest of Saigon. Day and night, more than 600 vehicles rolled through the little village of Cu Chi as the convoys headed for the division's campsite on the outskirts. Meanwhile, the division's 3rd Brigade had begun arriving from Hawaii by airlift. Their destination was Pleiku in the central highlands of Vietnam. This was to be the 25th Infantry Division's forward base, while Cu Chi would be Tropic Lightning headquarters. Called Operation Blue Light, the airlift of the 4,000-man 3rd Brigade by the U.S. Air Force was completed in record time. 8 days were shaved from the schedule as the brigade's men and materiel were delivered to Pleiku in the largest airlift ever attempted. A few days later, on the 19th of January, 1966, division support elements came ashore at Saigon Harbor and moved up to Cu Chi. 2/3 of the Tropic Lightning Division was at home in Vietnam. For the men of the 25th, the first major assault upon the enemy came with Operation Garfield. From Pleiku, units of the 3rd Brigade were flown southward to Darlac Province and the Viet Cong-infested area around Ban Mi Tu. It was the beginning of a month-long sweep of the province. The VC were difficult to pin down, and the searchers were plagued by hidden snipers. As the Tropic Lightning troopers pressed forward, the Viet Cong withdrew deeper into the jungle. Whole villages recently occupied by the enemy were found to be deserted. Sometimes the dwellings were booby-trapped. All documents left behind by the enemy were carefully studied for military intelligence. Any place where the Viet Cong may have hidden weapons or valuable papers was thoroughly searched. Even the contents of these bags were examined. Time and again during Operation Garfield, the men of the 25th had to re-evaluate their search patterns and objectives. Actual contact with the enemy was confined to small unit actions. However limited, these sudden shootouts in the jungle took their toll of battle casualties. Some of the enemy were taken alive, but many more were killed. Intelligence gathered from the prisoners guided the troopers from Hawaii as their search continued. Many caches of Viet Cong rice were located thanks to information given by the prisoners. The food was later distributed to needy Vietnamese people. Great quantities of enemy medical supplies and surgical equipment were also captured, and the operation concluded as the VC fled. The men of the 3rd Brigade took these enemy supplies with them and returned to Pleiku. Meanwhile, units of the 2nd Brigade were conducting Operation Kahuku in the area around Cu Chi. Supported by armor, these elements of the 25th ran into heavy resistance as they approached the Micheline rubber plantation. Enemy mortar fire rained down upon the advancing armored personnel carriers. Some of the machines were rendered inoperable as a result of the enemy fire, but this did not deter the Tropic Lightning troopers from continuing their advance. As they penetrated deeper into the plantation, the men of the 25th found the enemy dug in with well-constructed bunkers. Dislodging the Viet Cong is never easy. Several hours of combat caused the troopers of the 2nd Brigade Task Force to take casualties. But, in the end, the VC were overcome by superior firepower. And the underground fortifications were overrun by the Americans. Many of the Viet Cong were slain. The remainder fled from the battlefield. This day, the reign of terror for the local people had come to an end. The enemy would not return. On April 29, 1966, almost 3.5 months after the arrival of the rest of the division in Vietnam, the 1st Brigade landed at Vung Tau. The deployment of the Tropic Lightning Division from Hawaii to Vietnam was complete. Within a matter of hours, elements of the 1st Brigade were airlifted to Cu Chi to join the 2nd Brigade. Though military operations take much time, the men of the 3rd Brigade established a resettlement camp for refugees in Kon Tum Province. Here, the weary victims of the conflict find peace, security, and a degree of hope for a better life in the days ahead. In recognition of the division's humanitarian efforts and its growing program of civil assistance programs, the men of the Tropic Lightning Division were honored at an award ceremony. Brigadier General Glenn D. Walker, then the Assistant Division Commander, and other high-ranking staff officers accepted the award for the 25th. Throughout June and July, the Pleiku, Play Me area was the scene of a major effort by the 25th Division and some elements of the 1st Cavalry Division Air Mobile to clear the Viet Cong from the district. Under the code name Paul Revere, the full-scale operation took place some 40 kilometers from the Cambodian border. In this determined drive, heavy armored elements of the 3rd Brigade were called up and joined in the massive sweep. Everything in the book was to be thrown at the VC on this one. The activity grew at a feverish pace, and the task force began to move. In the forward areas overlooking the Ya Drang Valley, artillery and heavy mortars were flown in. Fire bases were set up, and suspected enemy positions were zeroed in. Now airborne, the assault troops of the brigade were headed into action. Preparatory fire support began. Despite the heavy shelling, the dispersing Viet Cong and North Vietnamese Army units managed to shoot down one of the American helicopters. However, the U.S. troops continued to join the battle. Doggedly, they pursued the fleeing enemy into the deepest jungle. All over the northwestern part of Pleiku province, the Tropic Lightning Sweep pressed the enemy ever backward as Operation Paul Revere concluded. Because of valuable lessons learned about the enemy's tactics during actual combat, the division established a special training course to teach Tropic Lightning troopers how to ambush enemy troops played by U.S. soldiers during night operations. The deadly Claymore mine is one of the ambush tools which are used by these night fighters. Though the 25th Infantry Division is well trained on the subject of guerrilla warfare, Major General Fred C. Wayland, who was then the commanding general, felt the men would benefit from special instruction on ways to trap the enemy. Additional measures to deal with the hidden foe were taken as the infantrymen from Hawaii began working with scout dogs. Continuous obedience training conditions the animals and assures their instant response to the handler's commands. In the field, the big 125-pound animals are trained to sniff out hidden enemy personnel in the thick undergrowth. When VC are located, the scout dogs indicate their find without making a sound. The enemy never knows his presence has been discovered until the dog and troopers are upon him. While continuing their combat operations, the 25th Infantry Division, along with all other U.S. Army units in Vietnam, began putting more emphasis upon psychological warfare and pacification programs. Residents of a suspected Viet Cong village are called out for a well-planned pacification festival. Meanwhile, the hamlet has been surrounded by both U.S. and South Vietnamese troops. In a thorough screening process, Vietnamese officials carry out indoctrination of the villagers, assisted by soldiers of the 25th Division, pointing out the fallacies of the Viet Cong ideology and offering a better life in exchange for loyalty to the Saigon government. First stage of the screening is the 25th Division Interrogation Section. Here, villagers are identified and military intelligence gathered.
Ask her what her husband does.
Chồng chị làm tài xế không? Làm phụ, làm lơ đó hả?
How old is he?
Anh bao nhiêu tuổi rồi chị?
Ở trong khi xanh mới 17. Tôi xẹp 18.
How old?
17.
How old is she?
No, him. Còn chị bao nhiêu?
Tôi sinh ngày 1944.
Không, miền Nam.
The Vietnamese Information Service is next to process the people of the village. At this section, they learn of the various assistance programs which the Saigon government is making available to the needy of the nation. The section set up by the psychological warfare teams assists the Vietnamese in distributing literature aimed at politically repatriating the individual with communist leanings. One of the most important aspects of the pacification process is the free medical service given to the villagers. What these physicians and medical aid men do here is long remembered. In the final stage of the screening process, the helping hand section determines the most immediate needs of each family and distributes a wide variety of items considered basic for day-to-day living. Pacification festivals like this one are conducted as a joint effort of both the American Military Command and the government of the Republic of Vietnam. Everywhere, the results are encouraging. As the months roll by, the Tropic Lightning Division PSYOPS teams have stepped up their distribution of Chiu Hoi leaflets, pamphlets calling upon the members of the National Liberation Front, the Viet Cong, to drop their communist-inspired activities and realign themselves with the Saigon government. By every means available, the leaflets are disseminated throughout the division's area of responsibility, a major campaign to win over the hearts and minds of the enemy within. Promising safe conduct and a life of freedom for those who respond and lay down their arms, the Chiu Hoi leaflets are read by thousands. And the campaign works. Previous hardcore Viet Cong are defecting to the Americans by the hundreds. In their eagerness to start the new life, the defectors offer wholehearted cooperation. They lead our troops to the hiding places of their former VC guerrilla comrades. Each location is systematically searched, then destroyed. In the struggle to win over the dissident elements, one of the most valued aspects of the Civic Action Program is the medical assistance work being carried out by MedCap teams. This is the village of Phuoc Hiep, about 7 miles northwest of the 25th Division headquarters at Cu Chi. The members of this MedCap team from the 25th Medical Battalion visit this village once a week to provide free medical service to its inhabitants. Similar visits are made to a great number of other villages in the district, and the MedCap team has an extremely crowded schedule. Despite the pressures under which these men work, each patient is given careful attention.
Well, he's got a bad fracture here. He must maybe the burn in there. You know, he wasn't shot or in an accident. Well, hell, he's had a fracture here.
Nó bị cái gì chứ tự nhiên sao bị
He says no. How long has he had drainage like this?
Bị bao nhiêu lâu?
And I think what he's got is an osteomyelitis with fistula and chronic drainage. And what we'll do is ask him to come back next week with his parents, and we'll try and make arrangements for either going to Saigon to the hospital or up to the Back Hospital. We'll get x-rays and see if it can be debrided, or maybe just put him on long-term antibiotics. Do you think he understands? Would you ask him? Do you think he understands to come back?
By midsummer 1967, 17 months after the division's arrival at Cu Chi, medical teams from the Tropic Lightning Division had treated more than 189,000 Vietnamese citizens. The overall civic action program being carried out by the 25th Division takes many forms. Here at the village of Do Chieng, some 50 miles northeast of Saigon, a number of self-help projects have been launched under supervision of the 3rd Brigade S5 section. Captain Vinan Laux is the officer in charge.
Do Chieng is in a position here next to the Saigon River. It comprises 5 hamlets. We have here a population of about 10,000 people, which is approximately 2/3 of the total population here in the Freetown district. Because of our position next to the village, we feel that we can get in here and do civic action work with the people and thereby reach most of the people in the district. What we try to do mainly is create projects for these people in coordination with the district and village officials that are going to be, number one, long-lasting, and number two, projects in which the people are going to derive a lasting benefit. We try to get these people, and we have been very successful in getting them to do projects on their own, in which we provide materials, technical assistance, and then they do the projects. I truly feel that the willing cooperation and the enthusiasm shown by the people here in Do Chieng is a good indication that these people feel secure from BC in the area here, that they want to see their village progress, we have come a long way in the time that the brigade has been here and has assisted these people. And I think that in time to come, we're going to find these people contributing more and also feeling more secure in their respective areas here.
In the final analysis, the United States Army 25th Infantry Division is a combat outfit. In this shooting war, their first job is to hunt down the enemy forces and to eliminate them as efficiently as possible. This is not easily done in the guerrilla warfare of Vietnam's jungles, swamps, and rice paddies. A typical example is Operation Barking Sands, named after a famous beach in the Hawaiian Islands. Elements of the 1st Brigade are being sent out to clear an area in the battle zone, suspected of harboring the Viet Cong's 2nd Do Mien Battalion, a hardcore guerrilla unit supported by the Hanoi government. The trouble spot is a place with the improbable name of Ap Na Biek, about 10 miles east of the division's Cu Chi base. The plan called for the assault force to go in 2 waves, landing about 100 yards apart. At the landing zone, the first wave received fire from the Viet Cong and was immediately pinned down. The second wave came in, and it, too, was taken under fire. Trying to link up with the first wave, the men of Alpha Company received fire from the wood line to the back, front, and one side. They kept pushing ahead, while the forward observer called in the helicopter gunship for suppressive fire. It took the men of Alpha Company nearly 2 hours to link up with the men of the first wave, only 100 yards away. Finally, the Air Force Sabre jets were called in. Operation Barking Sands. A small portion of the war against the aggressors was completed. The little hamlet of Ap Na Biek was taken. From day to day, this is the way it is in Vietnam. As the conflict continues, the 25th Infantry Division of the United States Army fulfills its daily missions of compassion and nation building on the one hand, and the stern duty of ground combat on the other. Whatever the demand, the Tropic Lightning Division stands, ready to strike.